Linderman here. Today is Friday, September 11th, 2020. And of course, this is a day we remember the attacks on the World Trade Center and on the Pentagon. I won't have a whole lot to say about that. We're going through our own tragedies right now in this very strange year of the COVID pandemic and the very strange presidency of President Trump. So, there was some criticism. Amy McGrath compared, I guess, let me read this to you all. I wasn't sure how deeply I wanted to go into this. Apparently, Amy McGrath compared the election of President Trump to 9/11, which might be a little bit extreme. Of course, on the other hand, 2,976 people died on 9/11, and we've had, 196,000 people die right now. It was not an ideal comparison, but we are in our own crisis right now with many, many Americans dying. Look, I'm going to try and lift myself up just a little bit and not get too down in the dumps. I'm so glad to see Barbara Tichy is here. Mark Andes is here. John Alma Barnett, hey y'all. And Bill McNichol is here. And of course, he wants us all to share, please. We know how to do that. What a week this has been. By the way, tomorrow, I think we're going to find out that the Rural Council for the KDP will be approved, and that will be going forward. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's a massive change for the better for the Democratic Party in Kentucky to include rural Kentucky in their discussions. So I'm very excited about that. Also, I want to announce that next week on Thursday, we're going to have Mark LaPalme. And Mark is the chair, I guess. I'm not sure what he would be called. Mark is a friend who runs Isaiah House, which is a rehab facility. And they've got a couple of locations, but they're here in Kentucky. And Mark and I became friends over the process of me running for Congress. And so he's going to be one of the people he'll be here on Thursday talking about addiction. We had an incredible conversation earlier today. So I'm looking forward to that next Thursday. So I guess we need to do our homework. We need to focus on these numbers. Here we go. We have passed that terrible milestone. We're over 196,000 cases. And look at this, yesterday, over 1,000 deaths. The tragedies continue, which is dreadful. 1,089 people passed away yesterday from the coronavirus, as far as we know. New cases, very close to 40,000. This thing is not finished yet. Looking at, that's the wrong one. Oh, my goodness. There we go. I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. California, which is going through its own hell right now, and Oregon are just going through just a terrible time because of the drastic fires. California remains number one with the most amount of cases, but Texas is moving in pretty quickly, and Florida as well. I believe I've got Kentucky. Yes, Kentucky, I think that may be one of the highest days we've seen for a number of new deaths, and it's very high up there in terms of the amount of new cases. Hi, Gina from Garrett County. Hi, David Royce. I'm glad you're here. You guys, please remember to share. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Let's look at this. So tomorrow, if you are in the Owensboro area, there's going to be a march for justice that's sponsored by students from Brescia and Kentucky Wesleyan. I'm planning on being there tomorrow. That's my aim, to be there. It's early in the morning, but I've got a meeting. I've got 2 meetings before their 10 a.m. Central Time meeting get together. This is in response to violence to African Americans, including the recent shooting of Jacob Blake. And it begins at Brescia University at 10 a.m. They're going to walk to the Owensboro Courthouse and then up to Kentucky Wesleyan College. So any of you that are in the area and want to be part of it and want to contribute, want to come along, please do. They're going to have masks. They'll have some masks available if you need one, but social distancing, safety, masks, all that stuff will be included. I've got a story I want to share with you all. And I found this in the Courier-Journal, although my suspicion is that it's also on USA Today. And this is one of the three people, the story of one of the three people that was shot in the protests in Kenosha. Remember, the young man showed up with a AR-15 and shot into a crowd. Hi, Sylvia Walters is here. I'm so glad you're here, Sylvia. Please share. Anyway, so let's talk about what went on. This story originates out of Milwaukee. The woman was screaming, crying, and bleeding, hit with a rubber bullet as police cleared protesters out of Kenosha's Civic Center Park on the night of August 25th. She lay on the ground, possibly in shock. Trained as a paramedic, he carried the equipment he needed to treat her wound. Only a few people remained in the park, but the line of officers in riot gear kept advancing. There was no indication that they would break rank to let him work on the woman, and none of them offered to help. This medic, by the way, is named Kreutz, I think. Kreutz, I'm guessing, is the pronunciation of his name. And some other men had to pick her up and move her once, then again, then a third time. They ended up on a hill where Kreutz was finally able to stop her bleeding. The woman, once stable, got to her feet. Kreutz stood too. The police had moved on, but another group of heavily armed men, all white, none with badges, had entered his field of vision. Dressed in camouflage and olive drab, they wore body armor and carried rifles. Within minutes, Kreutz would be the one bleeding on the ground. Kreutz was one of among three people shot on the third night of protests after Kenosha police shot a black man, Jacob Blake, 7 times in the back. The two other victims of the August 25th triple shooting, Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, did not survive. The shooter, Kyle Rittenhouse, 17 years old, of Antioch, considered himself a citizen soldier. That evening, armed with an AR-15, he told several people that he had traveled to Kenosha to help protect life and property. Now, he's been charged with 5 felonies, including first-degree intentional homicide. His lead attorney plans to argue self-defense. Hard to see how a medic who's helping someone was a threat to Mr. Rittenhouse. Videos of the shooting have circulated widely on the internet. They show a moment that a .223 rifle round shredded Kreutz's right bicep. I really felt in that moment that I was the best trained person to help myself. You know, it was like an ethereal or out-of-body experience, he said. He was both patient and paramedic. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking and just knowing, like with my experience and my training, that with what just happened, I've got, 3 minutes before I pass out. And if nobody around me knows what to do, that's even worse. Surrounded by gunshots and chaos, worried he would be shot again, his training kicked in. He used his left hand to put pressure on his wounded arm, all the while shouting for a medic. A live streamer who broadcasts on a channel called CJTV was the only one who rushed to his aid. Kreutz had a tourniquet in his backpack. I hope to God you know how to use this, he said. CJ stammered in his head. Kreutz told himself they could work through it. He gave instructions showing CJ where to put the tourniquet and repeatedly ordering him to make it tighter. I mean, he saved my arm, helped save my arm for sure, Kreutz said, and he very well could have saved my life, because who's to say how events could have carried out? Just terrible. Just terrible. We'll have more to talk about that. But right now, what I want to do is call James DeWeese, our friend who's in the 2nd District, And let's see if we can get James to pick up the phone and chat with us. One ringy dingy.
Hello, Hank. How are you today?
That's a dangerous damn question, Mr. DeWeese. And I hope you're having a good day.
I am. Thank you.
You know, of course, this is the terrible holiday of the 11th of November, 9/11. And,
Yeah.
And we've got our own tragedies going this year. But I thought it would be important for you and I to talk and share with people some of what you do. James, you're a representative for the Teamsters Union. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm a business agent and trustee for Teamsters Local 89. And we cover southern Indiana all the way down through the Bowling Green area.
Okay. And you're in Nelson County, right?
That's where I live. That is correct. Nelson County in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Okay. So, and the Teamsters, so you've got a pretty good area to travel. It's almost as big as the 2nd District, which I've got to travel around in quite a bit. But you've also got a lot of different folks that you represent. The Teamsters are not, one group of workers, are they? They represent a lot of folks.
That is correct. We like to say we represent people from A to Z, from airlines to zookeepers and everything in between.
Zookeepers? You represent zookeepers.
In San Francisco, there are some zookeepers in various parts of the country that are Teamsters, yes.
Wow, I had no idea. So
yeah.
I'm going to trip you up here. Who do you represent that's a Q?
A Q. Oh,
you don't have to answer that right away.
Here.
Say what?
Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that one.
Okay. A to Z.
Right.
Sorry. I told you this was going to be a friendly interview, and I'm already breaking the rules,
That's okay.
Well, but a lot of the folks that you work with, I'm guessing, are truck drivers. Is that correct?
That is correct. At Teamsters Local 89, we do represent a multitude of different industries, a lot of which are truck drivers. We have, of course, UPS is our biggest here at Local 89, but we also have car haulers, the people who haul the vehicles from the factories to the dealerships. We have a number of members who work at various freight companies that you see traveling up and down the road. We represent members at Caesars Casino, Morgan Foods up in Austin, Indiana, that makes a lot of the suits and cans a lot of cannery up there. And we represent people who do different packaging for various goods, car rental. When you go to the airport and you go to places like Hertz, they're Teamsters, concrete companies like IMI, Vance, just a multitude of different industries around the area with southern Indiana, Louisville, and Campbellsville, and all the way down through Bowling Green.
Well, how many Teamsters are there in the United States, and then how many are in your region, roughly?
That's a good question. There's 1.4 million members in the United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada. And we have about 15,000 of those members within Teamsters Local 89. So we're a very large local union.
And you're a representative for 15,000 people?
Not me personally. I have sections of that. So I am one of several agents, several representatives that handles UPS. And then I have some electrical workers I represent there in Central Kentucky.
And what kind of work do you end up doing? Are you settling disputes with management? What sort of work is your work?
Well, as a representative, my work is exactly what you said, is to settle the disputes, contract negotiations, the servicing and enforcing of the contracts. But the thing is, with a labor union, we have multiple things that we do here for us to function properly. In addition to servicing our own members and fighting for those strong contracts that's transformational in people's lives. We also organize new members. And so if you are at a non-union place of employment and you want to form a union, we will assist you in forming a union and getting a contract with your employer And then there's other aspects of what we do, and that is making sure that laws are created for the benefit of working families, and also fighting off laws that hurt working families.
I think you're speaking about right-to-work laws, for example.
Well, right-to-work laws would be one of those laws. That is simply a law that is designed to divide the membership, to defund the union, and to fracture our solidarity to the very core.
Wow. And now Kentucky has a bit of a history with right-to-work legislation. Were we one of the early states to get right-to-work laws put in place?
No, right-to-work has been in existence for decades, and we have just recently received the right-to-work law. And we were able to fight that off for many years, and now we have it. So
right.
Yep.
Wow. Well, one of the things that's going on in industry that we are seeing, I mean, first of all, we have all seen that there are declining industries in Kentucky. For example, we've seen that, as coal use goes down, despite the efforts of President Trump, we've seen that, use of coal, the price of coal is dropping. So that's, at the moment, appears to be a declining industry. And certainly we're seeing just fewer and fewer jobs in coal, and similarly in other industries. But one industry that looks like it could be in trouble coming up fairly soon is trucking, in terms of drivers. Looks like they're going to be possibly put out of work with trucks that drive themselves, because we keep hearing about those and seeing various plans. Feels like that is coming pretty quickly.
It is, and I feel that it's coming quicker than we originally anticipated. And, for us here in Kentucky, the truck driving industry is a huge industry for us. It's probably one of the largest industries that we have here for jobs, particularly for people who don't have a college education. The autonomous truck could easily affect in the near term as much as 300,000 jobs across the country very quickly. And that's just the beginning. But the driverless truck, or the autonomous truck, however you'd like to refer to it, is a dangerous situation, not only for our economy, but also our roadways as well. And those are some of the things that's not being talked about as much. And that I think that one, we need, people in office like yourself, who can help direct this dialogue that needs to take place to prevent these autonomous trucks from taking the roadway. They're being tested now out in Arizona and a few other places, and there's virtually no laws governing them, no regulations, and here they are commingled with citizens driving on the roadways, and even though they're in very little use right now, just in testing phases, it can be very, very dangerous later. And and just take, for instance, how many times have you come up onto a roadway where there is an accident, or something has happened to the lights or the electrical infrastructure around the neighborhoods, and you have a policeman or someone out directing traffic with their hands? Mm-hmm. It happens all the time. And these trucks cannot operate under those type of conditions. We also have to worry too about glitches in the system. Are these systems hackable? And
the
just
the answer to that is yes, of course.
Yeah.
All systems are hackable.
Yes, and those are major issues that need to be looked at with this. And when you listen to people in the trucking industry, and I mean in the trucking industry as far as the employers talking about the automation of trucks, it's not safety that they're really worried about. It's about the bottom dollar. They've exploited the American trucker so much in the past few decades. Now they're just trying to find a new avenue of exploitation.
You know, I think that's one of the things that a lot of us feel about our entire system is that virtually all decisions nowadays, particularly related to business and too often in government, are based on how quickly can we make a profit and how quickly can we make the most profit. And that means, I mean, that has left us unable to, our healthcare system to be able to properly respond to medical emergencies like what we're experiencing this year. So how much, now talk to me about the difference between what a union truck driver makes versus a non-union driver. Or, you know, I met a guy who, and this guy's not a Teamster, but he's a metal worker. He works in aluminum. And I met a guy who had come down, I believe, from Minnesota, where they've got a strong aluminum union, and he was helping construct the new soccer stadium in Louisville and working right next to guys that were doing virtually the same job, and he was earning double the amount of money that they were.
In a union job?
Well, he's a union member. They brought in union members, but this project is huge, and there's union involvement, but it sounds like there's also non-union people. Yeah.
Well, typically a union member will make a portion more than the non-union worker in their industry, and they call that the union difference. And I'll give you an example. Like I represent the UPS workers here in part of the state, and we have semi-drivers, and they are making about $120,000 a year easily. They have zero cost health insurance for them and their families.
Wow!
And they can retire. They can retire with as much as $4,300 a month for the rest of their life. And when you look at the non-union trucker, usually about the average is about $45,000 with very little to no benefits, and that's the union difference.
That's that's more than double what the non-union. I mean, the $43,000 to $120,000. That's a massive difference.
Yeah. And here's another comparison that, you know, when you look at the UPS driver, our UPS drivers are making about $38.50 an hour. Okay, zero cost health insurance and the same pension I just spoke of. But the Amazon driver, both of them carrying Amazon packages. The Amazon driver is making about $18 an hour with little to no benefits and no binding contract to protect their job. That's the union difference.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it is important for us to, you know, however people feel about unions, it's not very difficult to look at the history of the United States and see that when unions were strongest, which was in the 70s, I believe, that was the high mark for people who worked. Even for people who weren't union members, they were getting paid more by the end of the 70s, you know, right as the 1980s came in. And in fact, one statistic I saw was that if all of us who work magically had our incomes adjusted compared to what they would have been in 1977, and we adjust for inflation and all that sort of stuff, every person who works would get something like a $17,000 raise. Pretty amazing.
It is, but you know, as you can see, on how those graphs correlate with union membership, you know, to the economy. The economy on Main Street is always much better when there's a higher union density in the area.
Right, and we talk here on this on Getting Angry here. By the way, the name of this is Getting Angry, and what we say is just because we're getting angry doesn't mean you get to act like a damn fool.
Right.
We use the idea of getting angry to get prepared for what we have to do. It does seem, though, we talk a lot about trickle down, and we've been told about trickle down forever and ever, at least through all of my life since, you know, I remember first hearing about it. I'm very much in favor of trickle up, that if you're going to water a tree at the leaves, that's one thing, but you've got to water the roots of the tree. And it makes sense. In fact, I think that our first pandemic bailout that made sure that workers got taken care of, you know, people who, that seemed to work very, very well. And I certainly hope Congress and the Senate get it together to take care of folks who are working as we move forward.
When working families do well, our communities do well. And one thing that you had just spoke of there about the 1970s.
Yes.
If you notice, not far out of the 70s, we had Ronald Reagan come in with the trickle down economics, and you have seen paychecks trickle out ever since.
Oh yeah,
and
it's not. By the way, it's not that he invented that. I'm reading a book now by a guy named Thomas Frank, and it's called "The People Know." And it's a history of populism, which begins in the 1890s in Kansas. And it's this history of populism and anti-populism.
Wow.
One of the arguments against populism was that they had the idea of, they expressed trickle down in a different way. That if we take care of the wealthy at the top, that it will benefit everyone else. They just said it a little differently. Perhaps Reagan is the one who came up with the trickle down name. Maybe that's what he did.
Right. Right.
Well, James, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you'll come back and talk to us.
Sure.
We really appreciate the work you're doing, and I also appreciate the endorsement that I've gotten from the unions, and so thank you for the help. This work of being a candidate is impossible without the help of people who contribute and unions and so on that contribute. So thank you for that as well.
Well, we greatly appreciate all the work that you're doing for working families out there and delivering a message. I appreciate all the things that you do on bringing issues to light, making it not a party issue, but a people issue and a paycheck issue. And we need more of that, particularly here in Kentucky and particularly rural Kentucky. We need a lot of help out there. And we need more people like yourself out there who are bringing the issues out and also bringing solutions to the problems. I hope that you are elected, and we appreciate you.
James, thank you so much. I really think that it's important. I think the future of the country will be determined in districts like the 2nd, that when we are able to go back to when the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as well are willing to actually support people who work. I think we're all going to be a lot better off. So anyway, James, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. And I hope the day is coming that we can get together for another meal at that Mexican restaurant in your neighborhood.
That sounds great. We'll see you, Hank.
All right.
Okay?
Hey, James, you have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. James DeWeese, everybody, what a wonderful, hardworking guy, and I'm really proud to have his support. John Bohan is wanting to know where you can contribute. You can go to hank4ky.com, and there's a contribute page, and you can contribute with a credit card by ActBlue. There's an address that you can send a check to. You can even use Venmo, which is Barbara Ticci uses Venmo to contribute. And we really do appreciate all the contributions. I got a sizable check today. I got a check for $500, and it's just a wonderful thing. Not everybody can afford to send a $500 check, but the work that we are doing, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to keep a campaign running. And I also want to point out to you, the campaigns end. A campaign that we're in the middle of now ends basically on November 3rd. But movements carry on. And what we talk about a whole lot, when I talk about, the contract for rural and working America, there it is. When I talk about that work is going to continue after the election. So no matter what, I believe this is the way that we heal the country, that we finally do what's right in rural Kentucky and rural America. So this is a very important time, and your involvement is important. Also, I want to let you all know there's going to be an opportunity coming up soon, I would say within a week or so, for those of you who are willing to volunteer and do phone banking and calling people in the 2nd District. We're setting that up right now. I would expect it to be a week or so that we'll be looking for folks to help and go out and call voters and see if we can get them to come out and vote and do the right thing. All right. Well, that's all I've got today. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a great weekend. I don't have a lot planned. Actually, I do tomorrow morning. I have 3 meetings. My 3rd meeting starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I've got meetings all weekend. But I'll be back to visit you all on Monday. And remember, next week, the only guest I have booked right now, and I'm talking to some others, the guest I have next week will be regarding addiction, and it's Mark LaPalme, who runs Isaiah House, which is a rehab facility here in Kentucky. So should be a great week next week. Thank you all for caring enough about your country to use your anger to channel it to do the right thing. I will see you next week. Take care.